Welcome back to Face the Nation. We're here with Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Senator, I want to start on Puerto Rico. There's been a lot of criticism of the federal response, but the administration and Marco Rubio have said Puerto Rico is a special case. It's not like Texas and Florida. There were existing challenges in Puerto Rico, a weak electrical grid, those kinds of things that are really a part of evaluating what's happening there.
Well, first of all, the president, instead of tweeting against the mayor of San Juan, who's watching her people die and just made a plea for help, or to roll up his sleeves and get to work here. The bottom line is, at least for the first week and a half, the effort has been slow-footed, disorganized, and not adequate. And that's not just me saying it. General Buchanan said he doesn't have enough troops or material. The acting secretary of HHS, Duke, when she visited, said that things are not good. And so the bottom line is that we need more help. Marco Rubio is right, we need control and command. That means many more military troops. Let me give you an example. In Haiti, there were 22,000 troops after 2 weeks here. Right now, there are 10,000. There haven't been 10,000, and those are very, very recent. So this has not been a good response. It needs the president to stop calling names, stop downgrading the motives of people who are calling for help, but roll up his sleeves and get to work. And by the way, he should have gone to Puerto Rico earlier than 2 weeks. He'll go Tuesday. That's good. But 2 weeks after it hit. He was in Texas twice after that. Obama was up at Sandy 2 days afterwards. They say, oh, there are logistics that get in the way. But the president going makes a huge difference, and logistics didn't get in the way in the past. Well,
I guess they would argue that Puerto Rico is just a much different case than Florida or Texas. But let's move on here to tax reform quickly. You've been talking to the president about making deals with the president. Is this something you can do a deal with the president on?
Well, look, we Democrats sent a letter to the Republican leadership and the president, said that here were 3 things that we thought tax reform ought to have. One, tax breaks ought not to go to the top 1%, but ought to be focused on the middle class. 2, it ought not blow a hole in the deficit. And 3, it ought to be done in a bipartisan way, not through reconciliation. Unfortunately, the Republican plan doesn't agree with any of those. First, it's completely focused on the wealthy and the powerful, not on the middle class. Second, it blows a huge hole in the deficit. And third, they said they're going to do it through reconciliation. That's a partisan process. It excludes Democrats. It's the same process that led to the demise on health care. And let me just address one thing, John. Speaker Ryan keeps saying it helps the middle class. That's not true. What he's saying and what the plan is are totally different. Let me go over 3 quick points. 1, they get rid of the estate tax. The only people who benefit are the very wealthy, estates over $11 million. 5,000 estates will get over $3 million each. Second, they lower the top rate from 39 to 35. That affects the wealthy. They raise the lowest rate from 10 to 12. That affects working people.
But that also knocks a lot of people off the rolls, Senator. People no longer have to pay taxes, which means that's good for them.
No, they already don't have to pay taxes, but to lower the top rate and raise the bottom rate does not make any sense at all. And third, here's what the Tax Policy Center, 80% of the tax breaks in their plan are aimed at the top 1%. And the top 0.1%, the people who make over $5 million, who are 1 in 1,000, get a tax break of over $1 million. The middle class, at the same time, is hurt. Just one more point here. The Achilles heel of this, the first one, there are many, is state and local deductibility. In suburban, fairly well-off districts, Republican, throughout the states like New York, California, Illinois, New Jersey, those people, even with the standard deduction, will pay a lot more.
But why
It'll be a real test of their Congresspeople. It should be a real test of their Congresspeople, whether they vote with their constituents or they vote with the hard right ideology against state and local deductibility.
Well, the argument on state and local is why should Alabama subsidize New York? But it sounds like you're basically out now to stop this bill, not to shape it.
Well, we'd like them to change. We would like them to really say it'll be deficit neutral instead of using these fake numbers that say, oh, there'll be huge growth. You know, they tried that in Kansas. That's Charles Koch's state. and this was the great experiment. They dramatically cut taxes and said there's going to be growth and an increase in the surplus. Well, after they did it, they predicted that the surplus would go up 300 million. It went down. The deficit went down 700 million. They had to cut money for schools and infrastructure, and then they had to put in a tax increase. And did Kansas grow? No. Last year, its growth was 0.2% versus U.S. growth at 1.6%. So this idea that cutting taxes on the wealthy, this trickle-down economics, which the Republican Party loves, does not create growth. It never has. Does not reduce the deficit. It never has. George Bush, his tax cuts, 2001, 2003, they said after 10 years, the deficit will go down. It went up by CBO's point, 1.6 trillion. So this is fake numbers helping the very, very wealthy, ignoring the middle class. And what Ryan said and what his proposal are totally different.
All right, well, we're out of time, Senator. Thanks.
Sorry.
We'll be
I feel strongly about this.
Indeed.
But we want to work with them if they will change. We do. They have to consult us. They have to consult us. They can't just put down a plan and say bipartisanship is you guys come over and do what we want when it's against our principles.
All right. Well, you've been talking to the president. I bet you'll give him that message. Thanks, Senator. We'll be back with our panel. Don't go away.